is Mark Cavendish following the wheels. He's going to have to go off the wheel of Ackerman if he's going to do it. Marijn van den Berg is there as well. Only now they will start to see the finish line. It's slightly uphill, and there is Mark Cavendish. There is Mark Cavendish through the centre. He's hit the front here. Mark Cavendish is there. There's a crash behind. Mark Cavendish. This is history. This is history. First there was Max. Now it's Mark Cavendish standing on the shoulders of giants.
Bibidi babidi.
Arise, Sir Mark of Cavendish.
Oh God!
Record Tour de France stage winner. Chapeau.
Welcome back to the Escape Collective Tour Daily Podcast, everybody. I'm Caley Fretz. Holy hell! What a day! What a day! We spent most of the day in a very calm state, and as is often the case with such stages, ended the day in quite the opposite. We were in Saint-Fulbert today, and Saint-Fulbert will go down in history as the location of the 35th Tour de France stage win for Mark Cavendish.
Sir Mark Cavendish.
For you, perhaps. I'm not doing it.
No. I did, when he won, when we were watching the sprint, he won.
You yelled.
I will admit, I did cheer.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That is the beauty, the intrigue around it, is that he's all of these things. He's many... What's the word? What's the phrase? Anyway,
he's many things to many people.
That's it.
Yes.
And he's all of them at once, which what makes him so interesting, is what makes him such a great athlete. And that sprint wasn't even like one where maybe a couple of the big guys missed out.
Yep.
It was pure sprint. It was tactics, positioning, power, and Philipsen was in his wheel, couldn't get around him.
Couldn't get around him.
That is the way I think he would...
He wants to do
want to do it.
Yeah. No funny business, nothing weird, nothing. It wasn't even, I wouldn't say, a victory that was down to tactics, really, or down to anything other than, I mean, he put himself in the right position, which you have to do. That's the baseline for a sprint, right? But then he had to put out the power, right? Like he didn't just pip somebody to the line. Somebody didn't fade into a headwind. 150 to go. Most of the major sprinters were right there, and he was the fastest.
He picked his moment. He came out. We basically watch it by the buses, where a lot of them have a TV reflected out of like the window. So we watch it there, and it's kind of hard to see sometimes because of the glare. But we saw him shoot out, and it was the immediate reaction, not realizing there was only like 150 meters to go or something, was that he's gone too early.
Yeah.
But no, picked his moment, led from the front, won it. It was great. It's kind of good also that we don't have to go through this thing there's so many sprints coming up. We were looking through the road book earlier. It's great that he's done it now.
Yep.
Because also his coach said afterwards that they are here for more.
Yeah.
So, and like on today's evidence, he's the fastest at the race, maybe?
Certainly looked like it today. I mean, granted, I think it was a slightly funky sprint. We had Alexander Kristoff up in the top three. That's not a name that we say
and after
in
he crashed.
bunch sprints. And he crashed earlier today. It's not a name that we say in bunch sprints all that often anymore. It was a little bit unusual. There's a couple corners in the finale there.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that you can really say that this is indicative of what will happen next, but you have to be among the fastest to win a tour stage.
Yeah.
There is absolutely no way to fake it. So yeah, I mean we could be looking at a couple more Cav wins this year. So as you said, we were at the buses. We were where were we? We were down at the.
We were right at the other end. We were watching
at
it. It was a huge long street.
This speaks to our confidence,
right by a
perhaps,
field.
In Mark Cavendish.
We were
the opposite end.
We were at the
line
Visma
of
bus
buses
just because they had the best setup. We were looking into sort of time trial bike sort of things. Doesn't sound like us. Don't worry, we're feeling okay. A little story that's coming, and then we had to run. We actually jogged for a good 5 minutes.
You had intended to jog this morning and you didn't, and so
because
we got to jog it.
You know what? Deep in my British bones, I just knew that Sir Mark Cavendish was going to do it today.
I'm not really clear on the rules around the sirring, so I'm just going to avoid it. But, chapeau to him. Chapeau. Where I was going with this was what we did do is because we were wandering on the buses, we ran over to Astana and we tried to catch anybody who we thought could provide some insight into this historic moment. And we ended up speaking with a couple different people. I think what we're going to do now is our Sublime editor, Will, is going to put together a sort of 3-part little bit here. The first person you're going to hear from is Davide Ballerini, who is sort of He's not the last leadout guy. He's the leadout guy's leadout guy. So his sort of he's Morco's leadout man basically. He's the high power guy, right? He's just got massive watts, and he was able to speak to kind of how that little finale went, because he actually did end up being, I believe, the last man today for Cav. It was not a textbook sprint, as both he and Renshaw said. But yeah, he kind of talks to that. And the next person we'll hear from is Mark Renshaw. Mark Renshaw, of course, Cav's leadout man for a sizable chunk of those 35 stage wins, now brought on as a sort of like sprint director.
Cav whisperer.
The Cav whisperer for Astana, right? I mean, they built an entire team around it. They kind of built an entire season around today.
Yeah. They might get relegated from the World Tour
because of this.
Because of this.
And so he speaks a little bit about the significance of all of this. The last person we're going to hear from is Vasily, his coach. What's his last name?
Anastopoulos. He's Greek, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, sort of like, again, another Cav whisperer, right? And an individual that's worked with Cav for quite some time. And he speaks about the preparation for this.
Yeah, that was interesting.
It was quite interesting, and like what he did in the weeks leading up to the Tour de France, because he'd done a lot of climbing previously. Recall he did the Tour de Suisse just to get climbing in the legs, right? Like there were almost no sprint opportunities at Tour de Suisse, but he wanted to be able to get over the mountains and make sure he had the opportunity to sprint, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, let's hear from those three. We're going to hear Ballerini first, Italian accent, Renshaw, Aussie accent, Vasily, Greek accent.
Thank
That's
God
how you
they've all
able
got
to pick it
different
out.
accents. Roll the tape.
I was just try to stay organized always, stay together always, keep fighting till the last two corners to the right. My job was there, and then suddenly we find also the guy of Lotto. We was just beating the wheel, and was something crazy. Really, for all the people that they support Cav, they support the team, was, I think, really fantastic.
Do you realize the significance of this record?
Oh, for sure, I do. And I think everyone does, because they've committed so much to it. It wasn't just a little side project. This is, a big chunk of this team, and it's a different trajectory to what they've had in the past. So, Vinokurov has said a lot in the interviews. He wanted to create history, and it's not winning the Tour de France or a Grand Tour, but I think we achieved a lot today. I've seen a confident Cavendish, and I don't know, to bet against not taking the other one would be a big call. He's just getting better and better as he gets older. It's obviously harder to beat the young guys, and today maybe experience, maybe all the years of riding paid off. He suffered a lot like all the riders in the first few days, so we're gonna have a good celebration tonight.
So we start with our training camps already from December. I think in December and January he spent only 4 days at home. He went to Colombia, worked really hard, had his first stage win there. Unfortunately, we came back, he became sick. He was sick for 3 weeks. Then we had to completely change our plans to restart again, but we were never in a panic. Then beginning of April, he came to Greece with me. We spent 3 months in Greece, in between Turkey and Hungary and Tour de Suisse, train every day together. Believe in the process. I can tell you that it was not an easy one, but we never stopped believing that this could come true.
Now, can we get to the important story?
Yeah.
Of the aftermath of the victory? So we're standing outside the Astana bus in the little scrum, even though there's not really anyone there yet, but we're just still scrumming. There's lots of just media, in
just
too
sort of
close to contact
get
with
your
each
elbows
other.
into a...
Yeah, the police are pushing you around a little bit.
Yeah.
And you lean in and whisper to me, "What's that smell?" You then joke that it smells like a dead animal.
Yep.
Assuming that it's just one of our sweaty and body odory colleagues.
Which is...
Like 99% of the time, it is. You turn to another one of our colleagues who it was never going to be them that was the smelly.
I turned to Eurosport's Hannah Walker.
Okay, yeah.
Not generally a stinky person.
She's on telly, so
She's on
she
telly.
definitely washes every day.
Showers at least every morning.
Can guarantee.
Which a lot of the other media, if you're not on telly, who knows?
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah.
But she goes, there's a dead fox, and we laughed, thinking that she was taking the joke further, and then she pointed, no, look, and there was a smushed up fox right by the bus.
It was really gross.
It was so gross, and then everyone's just like kind of stepping in it. This might be my Cav piece for the day. is about the dead fox.
So specifically a like pancaked fox.
Yeah, it was like in the road. It was like
it had become
been there
part
for like
of the
4 or
tarmac,
5 days.
But
So that's the real story today.
So it's literally 4 feet in front of the Astana bus, the hub of the world's media at the Tour de France today. I just want you to know that as you were watching this on television, as you were watching Hannah or you were watching, Jens on whoever's on NBC,
Or the podium
stuff. This was the smell. If we had smell-o-vision, this is what you would have been experiencing.
It smelled hot and sweet, and at the same time like wet dog.
It smelled like dead animals.
As a reporter, I had to get right up in there and find out the facts of the dead fox, because Ian doesn't get it till tomorrow.
And what headline are you considering using for this?
The price of history ? The smushed fox. I don't know. I haven't got to the rest of it yet. But the price is, that sounds right. Look, we're here to bring you close to the race. Cavendish is on the podium. Meanwhile, the coaches, everyone's hugging, getting interviewed, and everyone's just stepping through dead fox.
It was gross.
I hope we haven't put you off your dinner or breakfast with that, but that's what it is.
We have a couple other things to talk about today. Let's return to the sprint, though. The fox, obviously.
Yeah. It's dead.
It's very dead. Biggest story of the day by far.
Yeah.
But let's pull it back to
the actual racing. Yeah.
So the sprint itself, chaotic. There was a big crash. Mats Pedersen.
Yeah, that looked a bit nasty. I haven't heard anything on that yet. We usually get
as of recording, which is a couple hours after the finish, we haven't heard anything on Mats Pedersen. I do believe that he was able to get across the line, but again, we were over by the Fox, so not entirely clear on that one. Anyway, it was very nasty, but the impressive part of that was what Brian Coquard did.
Yes, he bunny hopped directly over Mads Pedersen, which wasn't the only impressive bit of bike handling of the day, because earlier when we were outside the UAE bus talking to our good friend Luke Maguire, Tade's press officer, who gave us coffee.
Should we say how we introduced ourselves at the bus?
How we did?
Yeah.
Oh, we just shouted up, Luke!
From outside the bus.
We've got more on Luke, but we'll leave it for later in the podcast.
Yeah.
And another UAE staff member comes running out to interrupt us and was like, crash. And we're like, oh. And he's like, quickly look on Pro Cycling Stats, no UAE involved. Then he comes, the other staff member comes out after seeing the replay and is like, shows us what Tadej Pogačar did if you've seen the footage, where he like weaves around a traffic island.
Yeah,
and
a sign.
It's an incredible bit of bike handling, and it takes out maybe Fred Wright. Fred Wright retweeted the video with like a little tear smile emoji.
Yeah.
So it's either him or his teammate.
We'll get an update from Jack on Fred's
I'm sure we will.
Status.
But yeah, it was very close to taking out the yellow
impressive.
jersey.
So 2 super impressive bits of bike handling today. We had the Pogačar avoidance, which if you haven't seen it, go find that, and then the Brian Coquard bunny hop, which
Mats Pedersen's a big dude as well.
Yeah, like lots of people can bunny hop, right? Lots of pros can bunny hop, but to do it that quickly.
What speed would they be going at the end?
60 plus, 65. Yeah. Flying, and to be able to do it that quickly and basically like, 1, prevent Coquard from crashing.
Yeah.
2, prevent all the people behind Coquard from crashing, because then it just spreads, right?
And not injure
3,
Mads Pedersen.
Not injure Mats Pedersen, which is, I'm sure Mats Pedersen would appreciate, right? Not getting run over. Crazy impressive. I think that the only thing we can say to that is chapeau.
Final thing on Cav. We weren't there for the press conference because we were running around
at Astana.
I asked our colleagues in the press room what sort of Cav we got in the press room, because sometimes you get mumbly, quiet Cav,
bad
you
Cav.
get angry Cav, you get very happy Cav who like is doing a lot of head bobbing. The Cav we got today, calm Cav, which sounds quite intriguing.
Define calm Cav for me?
I can't. That's the reply I've got back. Calm Cav ?
Interesting.
So maybe we have to.
Let's kind of let's continue the Cav discussion a little bit here, because there are, I believe, 6 more sprint stages available. The question was asked. I believe it was asked of Renshaw. It was probably asked of a bunch of people, but the one I was standing next to was asked of Renshaw. And the question was, okay, well, the pressure's off now, right? Like, he was under an extraordinary amount of pressure. And I think actually chapeau to him for dealing with that pressure particularly well over the last couple of weeks, right? Like, if we had Cav from 2017 in this same scenario, nightmare.
Not good.
Nightmare individual, right? But he has really changed in the way that he interacts with the media and the way they interacts with fans, his own teammates, mechanics, everybody he comes in contact with. He's really changed. Frankly, he's grown up, right? Like he's a much different person. If he dealt with the pressure this well and still able to pull off the victory, you have to think that a freed Cavendish is actually quite a dangerous thing for the next 2
Imagine if
weeks.
it gets to 40.
I mean,
No, it's not going to happen.
No.
The main question is, which actually we were discussing this morning, I think I'd seen someone post about it either on Discord or Twitter, was can Pogacar's 25, he's won 12 stages of the Tour already.
Yep.
Could he potentially get there? Like, we're doing the maths. If he wins 3 stages a year, then that would take him 7 more tours,
Yep.
I think, doing the maths in my head, which 25 to 32, that's a lot to ask, but then Pogacar's Pogacar. I don't know.
And he could take more, I think, stages in the next couple of years. Right?
Yeah,
Like,
if he dominates for a bit more. And then you just become, and that's the thing, like sprinters, they just fall off and they never can really
unless
do
you're
it
Mark
again.
Cavendish.
Unless you're Mark Cavendish. But the GC guys can kind of then become like sort of breakaway artists later on, where it's just like stage 17, everyone's like done in, and then you just go up the road and win.
Cav actually did, I think, make a little joke about Pogacar chasing his record.
Oh, really?
I believe. At this point, it's not a serious one, right? Like, there's
Yeah.
a large gap. There's a reason why most of the riders up near the top of that, Eddie Merckx accepted, are sprinters, right? It's a hard thing to do in modern cycling in any other way, really. But it's not impossible. I mean, Pogacar with just imagine a year Vingegaard is sick and doesn't come to the Tour. Like, Pogacar could take like 7 stages, right? If he really wanted to. I mean, we've seen what he can do, what he did at the Giro.
Yeah.
It's totally feasible. Do I think Pogacar will overtake 35? Probably not.
Nope.
I don't think we're going to see that in a very, very long time. But it's fun to think about, right?
It
It's
is
fun to
fun.
kind of extrapolate out and look at what Pug is doing, 7-8 years from now.
I just thought it was an interesting thing. It's like that's real like sports media discussion, right? Is that you just completely jump the gun and talk about these hypotheticals that don't really exist in the real world. Should we run through some of the other little bits from our notebook?
Yeah,
today?
well, I mean, just to sort of like explain how the sausage is made here, we thought we might be staring down the barrel of an entire podcast with like another Jasper Philipsen stage win.
Yeah.
Right?
So we got to work.
We got to work. We had other things we were going to talk about tonight. And now we don't know whether to talk about them or not. We just keep talking about Cav because there's so much to say about Cav. We have said many of those things. We've been talking for 20 minutes about Cavendish already.
That's fine.
Let's move on to some of the other things. We've got other storylines floating around out there.
Yeah. Arnaud Delis. Update on Arnaud Delis.
An update on Arnaud Delis.
He, has been known in the past as 9 pounds of sausage and an 8 pound sack.
A term coined by an old friend, Chris Baldwin.
He is now, I would say, I saw him this morning in the mix zone, 7.5 pounds of sausage and an 8 pound sack. He's looking lean.
Yeah.
Looking very lean.
He's looking like he spent some time trying to change his body type, which is something we're always a little bit concerned about in pro cycling, but it's still interesting.
I mean, he's not that lean. He's still like a
he's still big boy.
Belgian dude.
Yeah.
There was also some media there trying to get him to hold a selfie stick with a GoPro on it as he made his way from the mix zone back to the bus. This is on a sprint day where he's like focused and like dialed in, and he just looked at his press officer like communicated the idea to him, and he just looked at them and was like, "No, I'm not doing that. Sorry, sorry. This is like the wrong day. I was just there." Like, it's one of those things where it's so awkward. Like, I've been in that situation before where you ask the wrong thing, and it's just like you just see it, and it's like it's just tough for everyone.
You get those little moments when you're at the tour start in particular where you kind of see them as humans all of a sudden, right?
Yeah.
Because they're sort of rolling around. They're sitting behind sunglasses. They've got helmets on. They look not robotic. I get like a little bit robotic, right? Like they're just, you can't see their eyes. They're expressionless. They're trying not to interact with you. And then you get these funny little moments where they kind of are forced to drop that little shield, and you see them and what they're actually sort of undergoing in that moment, right? Like Arnaud Delis was a little stressed out this morning. It's a day for him, and he should be trying to win the bicycle race, and he did not want to carry a GoPro.
Absolutely not. The other, speaking of like moments we see him as humans, after we've been at the buses and walking back to the car, Remco Evenepoel came past me from the white jersey podium. All the riders were basically already back, bus already leaving, and he was just like making his way through fans. No one's really noticing it's him, weirdly, and you can just see him looking around for where he's supposed to go, and it's like Lost Remco was very humanizing.
Lost Riders is always fun to me. Benny Girmay couldn't find his bus at the end of the stage today because they came across the finish line and there was a roundabout about 200 meters down the road. And you could go right, and there's a pile of buses down that way, or you could go left, and there's a pile of buses the other direction. And so the riders all came to this roundabout, and they were like,
which way do we go?
Which way is my bus?
Yeah.
And so Benny went all the way the wrong direction, down to the Astana bus,
No.
flipped it, and came all the way back.
Well, I had half a mind to tell Remco which way to go as he approached.
They appreciate that when you do that.
But then I chickened out. I just didn't want to. I assumed, and I checked and he did go the right way, so it was fine. Other bits. My Sablé update. Time for that? Is that too early? Is it too early in the pod for that, or should we just go to it?
Let's leave it for the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is your story, Caley, on the run sheet. John Degenkolb. This morning.
Just a John Degenkolb. John Degenkolb watch. Deg watch.
Well, we had it yesterday when he was talking about his power.
Yeah.
So two in a row. We'll try and keep the streak
2 days
up.
of Deg watch in a row. So we drove in this morning to Saint-Jean-de-Maurienne, not Saint-Michel-de-Maurienne. We got this one confused last night.
Corrections corner.
Saint-Michel
We are doing
de
bad with the corrections.
So the Nazi pizza is in Saint-Michel-de-Maurienne. You need to listen to the members-only version of yesterday's pod to know what I'm talking about.
To understand about that, yeah.
But anyway, yes, Saint-Jean-de-Maurienne, we're rolling in, and we unfortunately showed up right as the caravan was coming by, which is about a 40-minute pause. Like, you just can't go anywhere. You're just stuck. Caravan's going by. There's horny teenagers throwing
motorized cherries being driven,
throwing things at you, and you just gotta wait. And of course, the buses also have to wait; they cannot get through. And the DSM bus was right in front of us. And
DSM Feminic Post-L.
Right. Apologies. And I get out of the car because I know we're gonna be sitting there for a while, and I just sort of start wandering around. I'm looking down at the river, hanging out, and John Degenkolb had the same idea. So he and I went and we just watched the caravan go by.
Silence.
Yeah. I didn't actually speak to him because we knew that we just wanted to do the same thing. I wanted to go watch the caravan. He wanted to go watch the caravan. We went and just watched the caravan.
I reckon you're a similar age and probably have done a similar numbers of Tours de France.
I wonder. I've done more, actually.
Oof.
Sorry, John.
How old is he? 34?
So John Degenkolb is 35. We're the same age.
You're 36 now.
I'm 6 months older than him. And he has done 10 tours, 1 Giro, and 7 Vueltas. And I've done far more. I've done 14. This is the 14th tour.
So you're saying rookie numbers, John?
Rookie numbers, John Degenkolb. Yeah. What's one of them? 14 tours, 8 Giros, and 0 Vueltas. I've never done a Vuelta.
You never done the Vuelta?
No.
It's a bit hot, isn't it?
It's the end of the year. I just can't. We have an early awardee for the prestigious Heimar Zubeldia Invisible Top 10 Award.
Yes, who is it?
Who do you not think of that's in the top 10?
Well,
right
unfortunately, I'm looking at the run sheet so I can see it there, but we did forget until we saw his time trial bike.
Current 9th
earlier.
place, Giulia Ciccone.
Yeah, he's the perfect person to carry the torch for Heimar Zubeldia.
He had a great lead into the tour, and he's just sort of been thereabouts for much of the first couple of days here, and he's currently sitting in 9th overall, 320 back. Egan Bernal's still in the top 10, by the way.
Yep.
Just ahead of Matteo Jorgensen. And I just feel like Giulia Ciccone will be barring a bad day, where he drops well out of the top 10, I feel like he might be our Heimar Zubeldia Invisible Top 10 awardee in Nice at the end of this.
Other contenders, just looking at the top 20 currently. Yeah. Felix Gall.
Currently
in 12th. 15th, Santiago Buitrago for Bahrain Victorious. Maybe even a Peo Bilbao in 16th could be a sneaky.
Ooh.
Maybe not.
Much could change still. We have had one mountain day. We now go do we just drive across France for the next 8 days, and then
sprint. No, break. I can't remember.
Sprint.
Time trial.
Gravel day. Troy gravel day.
Breakaway. I don't know. Lots of real France.
Yeah.
Real France.
We're
in real France.
We're in real France.
Yeah. Please can we talk about the Maya Sablé now? Because I actually this morning managed to talk to today's wearer of the Maya Sablé.
Yep.
I'll just let you listen to it. So here is Stage 5's Maya Sablé Magnus Cort. So we're here outside Stage 5 buses with Magnus Cort. Magnus, first of all, how are you feeling this Tour de France? How's it been going?
Yeah, I mean, it's up and down, but in general really good for us with Abrahamsen has been doing amazing these first 2 days, now getting both in polka dots and the sprint jersey. And yeah, today he will lose the sprint jersey, but keep the polka dots, and that's a really good start for us.
We saw the descent yesterday, actually. My boss rode, we drove down in the car. We've had listeners asking what it actually feels like to go that fast down these mountains. You know, we've seen, and also there's like rocks in the road, it's a bit grippy. I mean, could you just like give us your best description of what it actually feels like to go that fast down a descent in the Tour de France?
Oh yeah, it is a little scary. Like yesterday we had a part in a town where we I think I had 102.5 kilometers per hour on my computer, and inside a city. And I don't think, sometimes we go the past 100, but that's kind of quite rare. But that's really fast with so many spectators, and you're really watching out if a dog or something is going to run out. But it went fine. Yeah.
Once again, the hotel reviews have returned for another Tour de France. I mean, what keeps you coming back every year to providing people the insight? And also, how have the hotels been so far this year compared to previous years?
I think it's a good insight now. It's something different, and I think a lot of people enjoy watching it, seeing the reviews, and it's also quite fun for me to do it. And I think my teammates, they also laugh at it a bit, and we're also discussing a bit with ratings. I feel a lot of guys actually like the split bathrooms that they often have here in France, so maybe I should stop pulling a star down. I felt like sometimes it can be a long way from the bathroom, and if you or from the toilet to the bathroom, and if you took a shit and then you can't get to the bathroom, wash your hands, or that's also like at least put a sink in that room, then I would be very happy. But now it's just a little something, a little gimmick, and people seem to like it, so that makes it worth it for me.
Final thing, so on our podcast we have invented a new jersey we run every year. It's called the Maillot Sablé, which translates to the sand jersey, and it's for the rider on GC that's closest to an hour, but they have to be an hour on GC. And at the end of yesterday's stage, you were in the Maillot Sablé. So what we want to know is, what does this prestigious jersey mean to you, and will you be fighting for it all the way to Nice to stay the closest to 1 hour but over on the GC?
Oh, that's nice. I didn't know. I think it will be a hard jersey to keep to Nice, but I'll try my best to stay on it, to defend it today. Yeah.
Well, good luck with that. Thank you, Magnus.
Thank you.
I think he clearly he kind of got what we're going for. He understood the assignment. Once I was explaining it, and you saw his eyes sort of realize, like, he's like just kind of fucking around. Okay, great. I know what to say. I know to say that this is, So thank you, Magnus Cort,
for playing our games.
For playing our games. Let me just scroll down and see if we've got a new Maillot Sablé today. We do not.
Magnus Cort 2 days in a row.
2 days in a row. I will not go and bother him.
Oh, tomorrow. And he is on 1 hour, 1 second.
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday.
I forgot.
Because you were looking at Jesus Herrada in 101st. He's on 59 minutes, 54 seconds.
Being confused about our own game again. Our own jersey.
So he's still kept it.
Congratulations, Magnus.
Well done, Magnus.
We're very proud of you.
So we'll have to see if Magnus Cort is going to take it day by day in the Maillot Sablé or not.
I think he probably has a pretty good shot of hanging on to it tomorrow.
Let's hope so.
Breaking news, Jonny.
Breaking news.
Just as we sort of went off to listen to Magnus Cort there, we got an update on Mads Pedersen. So
yeah,
what's up?
It's come through from his Little Trek team that Mads Pedersen suffered heavy impact to his left shoulder and back in the crash at the end of stage 5, but initial x-rays revealed no fractures. He will continue to be monitored overnight, and a final decision on whether he can start stage 6. I mean, by the time you listen to this, you might already know.
Yeah.
But that sounds like it's okay, maybe?
It looked bad.
You're not confident?
Bad. I'm not confident in that. I mean, nothing broken is good, but like, oof. I mean, I hope that they're monitoring him for concussion as well, because it looked like he whacked his head into the barrier to me.
Is that the first big crash of this year?
It's kind of the first nasty crash, yeah. I mean, we've had a couple different tip-overs, but it's been a relatively safe entry to this tour.
Is it worse to hit that? Because he looked like he actually fell directly onto the board. Like those horn accelerated. Is it worse to hit that than the floor?
I mean, he hit the floor eventually. So
yeah, but not. It's not the first.
The longer the crash takes, the better, right? Because it spreads the force out.
Okay, yeah.
Right. So that's why like sliding on the road in the rain, where it takes you quite a long time to stop, is better than just like whoop hitting the ground and like doing what Cav did last year, for example, where like a silly little tip over and you break a collarbone. I have a friend back home, Mike, who rides motorcycles, who's always reminding me that it's not the speed that kills you, it's the stopping, right?
Yeah.
And that's basically that's the same thing in pro bike racing or in any bike riding. So yeah, I mean, if he bounced around and slid, that's actually a good thing. But the fact that he whacked the barrier that hard, it didn't look good. We'll put it that way.
Tadej Pogačar,
Yeah.
2-time Tour de France champion, multi-millionaire at this point because of his skills on a bike.
Yep.
Apparently, maybe a bit of a spendthrift. We've just heard. We've heard rumours, not necessarily vicious rumours. I like a certain frugality. I think it's
No, I think this is a compliment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We see it in terms of how he dresses when we see him in the off season, like hanging out with Carlos Sainz or whoever it is in Monaco.
Yep.
I mean, he lives in Monaco for the training and probably some tax reasons. But it's not like he's living it up in Lamborghinis with designer clothing or whatever, as far as we've seen. So yeah, apparently doesn't like spending the cash. We know this because we've seen an interview he did before the start of the Tour de France in an Alpecin caravan, which had a bar bit inside of it, and then the Dutch boys over at Wielerflits, a publication there, were interviewing riders while they were stuck in the chair, so they couldn't really escape.
By the way, brilliant.
Genius.
Right?
Because Wielerflits also have the temptation often to just ask like annoying questions of riders, just like the classic sort of like, oh well, last year maybe you weren't so good, so what about this year? And it's just like, well, just fucking tell me I'm shit to my face instead of dressing it up as something. So yeah, apparently he was straight in there for a free haircut.
And basically what we're drawing a line between 2 points here, which is that, I mean, this is a man who could afford a haircut.
Multiple.
Could afford many haircuts. Could afford probably like
most
hundreds of haircuts a year. And instead
jumped at the chance for
a
free random
haircut.
dude in a sponsored
at the wrong sponsor.
Yeah, I mean, end of the day, yeah. Although, did you see? Obviously, he's friends with Mathieu Van der Poel. Did you see at the start of the stage when they were I don't know how to describe this. Can you help me out? I'm doing it to you.
Oh, they were doing the rotate
sign with their hands, Van der Poel and Pogačar. And so they went at the front a bit and were like, having a bit of a laugh.
I like that a lot.
That was good.
They were very bored.
Very, very bored.
Yeah. There was very little that happened in today's stage other than the last 5 seconds.
We had a guest in the car today.
Yeah.
A guy from back home in Durango, showed him around the tour, took him inside it, and unfortunately there wasn't really that much to see today. I mean, he got to come. We stopped at a very French coffee shop where they were selling what looked a lot like marijuana behind the shop counter.
They were.
It was very strange.
For 25 euros. Like a whole thing. So what got me was that it was way too cheap.
That was weird. But he was friendly, guy.
Yeah. Unless the price of marijuana has changed dramatically.
Well, the marijuana seemed quite cheap, but the coffees are weirdly expensive. We bought 2 coffees and a Coca-Cola for Chase, and it was like €10.
Yeah.
So they saw us coming. And then we stopped at a gas station, I guess you would call it, and I wish I'd just said petrol station, for some lunch, and he just got to sit with us while we all looked at our phones and ate a baguette. It was just like, here you go. And then we sat at the finish line for like 80 kilometres watching it on the TV.
Chase really got a pure, unadulterated taste of the Tour de France.
A Tour de France stage for like the real
But then he
heads.
also got to be at the finish line to witness history.
Yes.
So it was actually ended up being a pretty cool day.
I think that is, we have found everything.
We have wrung every possible droplet of content out of today's stage.
It just doesn't fit. Like, Cavendish made history. It was like the sprint was a great sprint. There wasn't any controversy to it.
Nope.
Nothing really happened before the end of the sprint. Maybe.
I think if Jasper Philipsen had won the sprint, he would have been relegated.
Oh, yeah? Oh, here we go.
There's some controversy for you.
A talking point at the last. What did he do?
He just swung way left.
And that's not like him, is it? He never does that.
He never does that. At first I thought, did he just cause Mats Pedersen to crash? I think it was far enough apart that you can't really draw a direct line between those two things. But, I mean, you could certainly probably make the argument that Philipsen swinging left that hard probably had a bit of an effect on the riders that were behind that, which then went back, like maybe 2 riders back to Mats Pedersen and then maybe put him in the boards. I think that's a bit it's a bit much to sort of say that that's a solid thing, but that was the first thing I thought when I saw it, which, whoa, like because he kind of pushed the whole field left as you do that, right? And if he had won that sprint, I think that there would have been issues for him with the UCI jury.
The only other thing, a final droplet out of the towel that is today's stage 5. Cavendish looked like he either broke or dropped his chain across the line. A lot of people have been saying. There's messages just popping up on the phone like, oh, did he drop his chain?
Yeah.
And
he's done this many times.
Yeah.
He did this a whole bunch of times previously when he was on Specialized bikes, which with different wheels and hubs. He now did it today on a Villiers. So the basic explanation, I think some of it has to do with his like end of sprint technique. Basically, like he maybe stops pedaling quite abruptly when he puts his hands in the air. I mean, I guess the way to think about it is, like the chain and the cassette have to, like they're moving with the free hub as he's pedaling, right? It's like locked into position. And then to sort of disengage the free hub, there's always a bit of friction there on any free hub. And when he's in the smallest cogs, when anybody's in the smallest cogs, the chain sort of has the least amount of leverage on that free hub. So if you're in the 32, you just think about the lever arm distance between the free hub and the top of the 32. You're pretty much never going to run into sort of free hub drag issues there. But when you're down in the 11, the lever arm there is much smaller. Probably butchering the physics of this, but it's basically I think everybody understands what I'm trying to say here. The lever arm is smaller, and so therefore the friction inside the free hub is much more likely to push the chain forward, which on a double, non-narrow wide chain ring kicks the chain right off. So that was a very long way of saying basically he stops pedaling very fast. He's in a very low or very high gear but small cog on the back, and that just probably kicks the chain and kicks it right off the front. He doesn't seem to care. This always happens after he's done sprinting. Yeah. That's an important thing.
It's like final flourish.
Yeah, so it's not like he dropped his chain and then won anyway.
So I don't need that anymore.
He literally is at the point at which it has fallen off, he is no longer has any use for that chain. So, yeah, it was a bit kind of, I think it was played up on Eurosport quite a bit. And I've definitely seen the like, won with a dropped chain kind of headlines, and like, no. Yeah. Like he won and then he dropped his chain, and again, he, for whatever reason, does it all the time. Before we go anywhere, though, we got to hear from Jose Ben on today's segment. We're headed to Dijon tomorrow, so how could we not talk about mustard? There was even a French mustard crisis in 2022. Let's hear from Jose Ben.
We are going to Dijon, so we must talk about mustard. My first memory of French mustard was that it was so sharp for 5-year-old me that it came out through my nose. I have learned to appreciate mustard ever since that traumatic experience, but honestly, never became a huge fan. Why is Dijon synonymous to mustard? Well, according to the Encyclopedia Britannica, the earliest evidence of mustard used as a foodstuff comes from ancient Indian and Sumerian texts that stretch back to 3000 BC. The plant is also mentioned in writings surviving from the ancient Greek and Roman eras, and you also can find it in the Bible. Matthew speaks about it twice, in Matthew 13, verse 21 to 31, and Matthew 17, verse 20, for those of you who want to read up. Mustard was produced in most wine-making regions around France since the seed was introduced in the 9th century. Mustard was originally made with grape must. Spoiler, in industrial mustard production, it's mostly vinegar nowadays, but real Dijon mustard is still made with verjus, which is the unripe green wine grapes. Okay, back to the history. It was in the late 13th or 14th century that Burgundy, where Dijon is, became famous for quality mustards. The leaders of the powerful Duchy of Burgundy, which was a regional sort of kingdom, and the political powerhouses of the era, made mustard a prominent fixture on their royal tables, and it soon became a symbol of wealth and prestige. Some written records even point to feasts at which guests consumed over 300 litres of mustard at a reception held by the Duke of Burgundy in 1336. It was during the 19th century that Burgundy began to truly dominate mustard manufacturing in France. Dijon mustard was a symbol of sophistication and culinary excellence. And until World War II, huge swaths of woodland in the region were used to cultivate mustard seeds. Mustard is now produced around the world, and the label Dijon mustard isn't geographically protected like many food and wine products in France are. If you make Dijon-style mustard, so the smooth yellow variety with the wine but without the seeds in it, you call it Dijon mustard. It's also not determined that the mustard seeds need to come from the region, but funnily enough, most of the seeds for mustard made around Dijon actually come from Canada. Canada is the world's top exporter for brown mustard seeds, and France relies for 80% on Canadian production. When there was a severe heatwave and drought in Canada in 2021, the shelves in the French supermarkets were empty the year after. The war in Ukraine also caused a shortfall in mustard seeds on the global market. And this was a problem for the French because they are the world's biggest consumers at around a kilo per person per year. There was hoarding and people dodging the implemented 1 jar a person rule in the supermarkets. It was the 2022 variety of the 2020 toilet paper craze. For the future, the Dijon mustard makers focus on producing more mustard seeds in the region again. The 2022 mustard disaster was a harsh wake-up call for the mustard-loving French.
Before we move into a bit of After Dark,
Yeah.
there's one final thing, I think, to play us out on this historic day. Now, members of Escape Collective who get the whole Tour Daily podcast will have already heard the soon-to-be major motion picture.
Yeah.
What was it called for? Lock, Stock and One Swearing Scouser. Mark Cavendish's One Last Job.
One last job.
We're going to play it.
Yep.
For the main everyone, not just the members.
The members already
had
heard
this. This members had this days ago.
Yeah.
We're going to play that for you in full.
Yep.
Obviously, the next time something like this drops,
Yep.
you can hear it first and at the opportune time if you sign up to become an Escape Collective member. $1. Now, what you're about to hear, tell me if this isn't worth $1. $1 for the first month. Let's play it.
You know, Keys Ball comes across the screen. This is Cheese Ball. They call him that because Dutch names are insane. Then you got David Ballerini. He has magic in his legs, but he's no ballet dancer. Balls is all about power. He's a lead-out man you call to lead out your lead-out man. Got it?
Oh, so good. Does it keep going?
Well,
you have to imagine this with them coming across the screen. It's like a slash transition across, and then like name, and then superimpose like bullet letters.
Yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
Then you've got Morkov in a cabin in the Danish woods. Phone rings. It's Cav. Michael, I need you. It's one last big score in France. Silence. Mike, I told you, I'm retired. I'm not doing that lead-out shit anymore.
I can't take it.
I can. Keep going. I need to
keep going.
But it's the record, Michael. Makes 30-5. Can't do it without you. There's going to be 500 metres to the line, and people are going to be throwing elbows, and the fans are going to be losing their minds, and some Belgian's going to hit the front. All I want to see out there, mate, is your back fucking wheel. You son of a bitch. I'm in.
Yes! Amazing. Now, since that's recorded, I asked the creator of One Last Job for how it should be finished. Cav, my guess is you'll never see him again. Roll credits. Amazing. Right. Is that it for today? We're going to do a little bit of After Dark after?
Let's do a little After Dark.
Okay.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Goodbye.